Hey guys, it is me again, and I am back with more of Jacqueline Woodson's Harbor Me. So we are starting chapter 10 today. So what has been happening? So 6 kids in a room, right? There's 6 kids that are about 11, 10, 11, 12 years oldish, 5th and 6th grade. And they have been given an opportunity to go to a room in school once a week, every Friday, for 1 hour, where they can talk about whatever they want. They're in a specialized class together. We know that there is Amari, Ashton, Chiago, Esteban, Holly, and Haley. So that's the 6 kids. They are all very different, but with some similarities. We are just finding out more and more about each character every day. Haley, who is a fiery redhead, has asked her uncle for a recorder so that she can record stuff. And she had a very insightful moment where she talked about how her mother had passed away and she can't remember what her mother sounded like. And so she just had this like fleeting thought of how nothing is permanent and things just kind of disappear. And she didn't want the kids in this room to disappear. She wanted their stories to be told and known. She doesn't know what she's going to do with the recorder. She doesn't know what she's going to do with the recording. She just felt really like she had to get this all on tape. And sort of, I think the kids have kind of agreed to it. At first they were like, what? But then it was like, well, maybe this isn't actually such a bad idea. We left off yesterday with Esteban. Esteban's dad has disappeared, his papi. And throughout the first 10 chapters, it's kind of a consistent thing, right, Abdul? Abdul, you even asked about it. Why do they keep repeating? No one knows where my papi is. So his papi disappeared. We don't know where he is or what. I had a wondering, just my background knowledge, and I was kind of thinking, well, Esteban's kind of a Latino name. Papi is a way that you say dad in Spanish. And I'm wondering if this is ICE related, right? So the immigration enforcement officers. I forget what the C is for. But so I'm wondering if they came and maybe dad's undocumented. Now that is just a generalization on my part. I don't actually know any of that. But Esteban is about to start talking about his dad. That's where we left off yesterday. All right, I have about 10 minutes that I can read, so we're just going to dive on in. Chapter 10. We could ask you questions like in interviews, Holly said. Nah, that's dumb, Amari said. Interviewers don't do it like that anymore anyway. Yeah, they do. Holly glared at him. So who's dumb now? How else are they going to get people to talk? Amari leaned back and folded his arms and said in a deep voice, So, Esteban, tell me about your dad. Give me the good, the bad, and the ugly. Holly rolled her eyes, but before she could say anything else, Esteban started talking, and I touched her hand to shush her. We think they took my papi when he was coming home from work, Esteban said. He works in a factory in Queens, sealing video games in plastic. I don't know how he does it exactly, but he was going to show me. He promised me he was going to take me there one day. But he said it would have to be on a holiday because I couldn't miss school and he doesn't work on weekends. My papi said weekends are always for the family and every day in school is a gift from God. He said that where he came from, I wouldn't be in school. I'd be working other people's land or in a factory. Imagine, Papi said, a young boy like you with hands as hard as a man's. He said, since me and my sister were born in this country, we were born with the American dream, like a silver spoon in our mouths. You're rich, he always told us. Not in money, 'cause money isn't everything, but rich in dreams, 'cause in this country, you can be anything. Esteban put his head down on the desk. I thought he was done and was going to take the recorder back when Amari spoke. Now, Amari said, looking at Holly, to go deeper in the story, you're supposed to ask him a question. Then you ask him a question, Mr. Smarty Pants, Holly said. You're so up on the interview game. Go for it. See, Mari said. Why do I have to be the one to know everything? Yo, E. Esteban lifted his head again. Yeah? Did your dad, I know he works in a factory, but if he could be anything in the world, what would it be? You know, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with working in a factory. I know, Esteban said. He used to say he wanted to be a poet, like Pablo Neruda. That guy wrote a whole bunch of love poems that my papi would read to the family. And another guy named Pedro Mir. He was from the Dominican Republic, like us. My papi said Pedro's poems were like the poems he wanted to write. They were about regular people and working and stuff like that. But you can't feed your family with a poem, my papi said. No se puede comprar un abrigo de invierno con un poema. You can't buy a winter coat with a poem. Tiago laughed. I got you, he said. Oh man, that's like something my mom would say. You can't buy a winter coat with a poem. Esteban put his hands in his pockets and pulled them out to show us the money you can't get from writing poetry. My papi always says, I wrote poetry because of love. I stopped writing because of love too, because I love my family. Esteban got quiet again. In the hallway, some kids were dragging their sneakers across the floor and laughing about the squeaking sound. Holly put her fingers in her ears. An adult voice said, Where are you supposed to be right now? Sorry about the barking, guys. The squeaking stopped, and Esteban started talking again. But my papi had another dream, too. If you ever went to the park by the bridge on Sundays, you might have seen it. He can hit a baseball out of that park like nobody else. Everybody says so. They say, How can such a little man have such power in his swing? But he just pulls the bat back and wham! The ball goes flying, and the guy in the outfield doesn't even run or lift their gloves in the air because they know that ball is gone. It keeps going and going like it wants to try to meet God. Then everybody starts cheering and jumping around Papi and telling him that he could play for the Yankees and pulling down the major dinero because, man, even A-Rod, who probably makes $1 million, can't hit a ball like that. But my papi would just laugh. He said, if you go to the Dominican Republic, you can find 20 more like him in the same park. He says, like Pele, they don't even have balls to play with, but they can hit rocks and cans, and even once, an old broken shoe. Gone. When he comes back, I want to see that, Amari said. I need him to teach me. Esteban almost smiled. Then he didn't. But what if he doesn't come back, he said. At night, when I'm dreaming, I dream that the Yankees recruited him, and that's where he is. But then it's morning time, and my mind is not dreaming so much anymore, and the day is just like the day it was before, a day without my papi in it. And our apartment feels darker and more quiet. My little sister doesn't even cry when Mommy tells her she can't watch television. She just climbs into Mommy's lap and puts her thumb in her mouth. He's coming back, Tiago said. I bet there's going to be a happy ending, Esteban, I said. I bet he comes home and everything ends up fine. Yeah, Ashton said. I bet by the time it's baseball weather, all of us are going to be sitting on the bleachers watching your dad hit that ball out of the park. He swung his arms back like he was batting, then shielded his eyes. There it goes. There. It's gone. Esteban turned off the recorder and whispered, Mommy thinks they sent him back to the DR. None of us said anything. We didn't have to. We knew who they people were. We knew what Esteban was afraid of. We knew why he turned off the recorder. Mommy says that if they sent him back, then even though we came here for the dream of America, we're going to have to go back too. Because without Papi, We're not a whole family. We're just like pieces of family. My little sister's wooden puzzle. The one that's supposed to be 4 puppies, but it's only 3.5 puppies now because the corner part, the last puppy's neck and face and ears, that piece is gone. Poppy is like the neck, face, and ears of our family. When they took him, they took a little piece of all of us. When Esteban handed me the recorder, I put it in my backpack. Then, without even thinking about it, I got up and I hugged him. It was a quick hug, but in that minute, I inhaled deeply, and he smelled like soap and cinnamon candy. I wanted to remember him everything. I wanted to tell him that if he had to go away, I'd remember all the little things about him. But I didn't. I went back to my desk and stared down at my shoes. Amari coughed the word, crush, and everyone except me laughed. Do you think you recorded the whole story? Esteban asked, except for the part I didn't want to say in it. I nodded. It's digital. It has a ton of memory. You can transfer the files to a computer and upload and stuff like that. I realized how fast I was talking and stopped, because now there was a sadness in the room, like a thick gray ghost at my shoulder. I had been talking so fast to cover it with words, send it hurling through the window, but I couldn't. I tried to imagine the ghost surrounded with sunlight and baseball games and poetry, good stuff that would push the ghost away. When you talk, Esteban, Holly said, it's like I can see everything you say. Your words draw pictures for me. I know that sounds crazy, but they do. Esteban smiled. That's what Papi says too. He says poems are tiny pictures. I just hope you don't have to move away, Amari said. It would just really suck. Both Tiago and Ashton said, yeah, it would. Esteban looked around at us like he was seeing us for the first time. His smile dipped down, then up again, then faded. I know, he said, but I want to be where my Papi is. I want us to be a whole family again. Chapter 11. It's like every day gives me something new to miss about my Papi, Esteban said the week before Halloween. There's all these holidays coming now. He left the circle and went over to the windowsill. Someday, maybe Miss Laverne had put pillows along that ledge and bright sun was coming in. When he climbed up onto the ledge, he looked like a silhouette, like someone Amari could draw, like someone who could make a beautiful painting. Amari took out his colored pencils and his sketch pad. We heard that my Papi's somewhere in Florida now, Esteban told us. It's like a jail, but my Papi didn't do anything bad. He was just working in the factory, and they came and took him. Amari cursed, and the word came out like a punch against a wall. None of us said anything because we all wanted to curse or punch a wall too. The word was stuck in our hearts and throats and mouth. But they'll let him go, won't they? Ashton said. I mean, they can't just take people away like that and keep them. That's just all kinds of unfair, bro. Wake up, Ashton. Amari didn't look up from his drawing as he spoke. This is America, supposed to be the land of the free, but we free? Nah, we got rules everywhere we step. No running, no cursing, no playing, no yelling, no staying up late, no this and no that. Now grown-ups, they're the free ones. And if it's not grown-ups, all up and down our backs, it's teachers. Not Miss Laverne, Holly said. Amari flicked his hand into the air, his eyes rolling up to the ceiling. She put us here, he said. She didn't say, y'all want to come to the art room? She said, y'all going to the art room. That's freedom? That's power? We got freedom. Holly glared at him. It's not like before when we couldn't swim in pools or go to stores and stuff because we were black or something. It's not segregation. Nope, Amari said. It's not. So we should stand up and cheer for America, I guess? He rolled his eyes again. We can live anywhere we want. You could live anywhere you want, he said. You're a rich girl, Holly. Can Tiago live anywhere? Can Ashton live in Connecticut anymore? Yeah, I can, Ashton said. How? Ashton shrugged. Just move back. We could just move back someday. With what money? Ashton looked down at his desk and didn't say anything. Nah, Tiago said. Amari's right. We're not so free. Can't even walk around with your hood on if you want, Amari said. Not even here. We got uniforms. That's free? No one said anything. Yeah, Amari said, answering his own question. Didn't think so. And he went back to his drawing. When I leaned over to look, I could see that most of the paper was covered with colorful guns, blue ones, green ones, yellow ones. Why are you drawing those? Amari looked at me as if he was surprised I was there. Why are you so nosy, Red? He covered more of the paper with his arm and kept on drawing. Hey, Amari, my friend asked why you're drawing guns, Holly said, and you know her name. It's just a picture, Esteban said. A picture can't hurt you. It's like the same thing as a poem, but not in words. Amari held up a piece of paper and aimed it at Holly. Pow! Mind your business. Now those are words to go with my picture. I'm going to tell Miss Laverne you're up in here threatening people, Holly said. Amari looked sadder than anything for a minute. Like if someone touched his shoulder, he'd start to cry. But then, just like that, his face went back to normal. He held up the paper, aimed it at Holly again, and dropped his voice down to a creepier whisper. Can't tell anybody anything. We are all alone now. I guess that means we're free. Even Holly couldn't think of anything to say to that. All right, guys, we're going to stop there for today. It's pretty intense. He talked a lot about freedom that really resonates with me, which means it really sits with me well. Like I understand what he's saying and thinking. Are we free? We need to think about that. If you're listening to this and you're going to click submit on Seesaw that you've watched this, tell me what you think. Do you think that we're actually free? Or do you agree with Amari that we're a long way from freedom? I wonder what you think. Let me know.